Some news days hit like a siren. Today doesn't. Today sneaks in through the side door, like hallway chatter, loose clues, little backstage moves that start painting a Patriots team a whole lot more aggressive than people outside Foxborough want to admit. And that's exactly why this script calls for patience, sharp reading, and that hot-blooded fan energy. Because the offensive line is right in the middle of the conversation. A big-name weapon could become a real opportunity, draft visits are starting to reveal intent, and even a special teams detail might suddenly turn into a real story. So hit like and stay with me because something real is shifting in Foxborough. The first story of the day is not a confirmation, and that needs to be crystal clear. We're talking about a 2026 mock draft from Sporting News, which means this is a projection, not some locked-in report straight out of the Patriots war room. But some projections feel random, and others feel like they line up perfectly with how serious teams actually move when they're building something. This one falls into that second bucket. The idea is that New England trades up to number 25 with the Chicago Bears and takes Alabama offensive lineman Kadyn Proctor, a player described as massive, athletic, and capable of playing either right tackle or guard. And that's where the backstage feel of this gets interesting, because the point isn't just liking a lineman. The point is liking one enough that you refuse to sit back and let the board decide for you. If this kind of move is really on the team's radar, then the message isn't just technical, it's philosophical. The Patriots would be saying, without saying a word, that the next phase of the rebuild is not about winning the offseason on social media with a flashy pick. It's about protecting Drake Maye, toughening up the run game, and speeding up the growth of this offense from the foundation that matters most on any real contender, the offensive front. And honestly, Patriots Nation, that makes all the sense in the world. When a franchise believes it has found its quarterback, the next job is not decoration. It's building an environment where that quarterback can breathe, where the pocket is cleaner, where he isn't taking snaps with chaos crashing into his lap every other play. Will Campbell on one side, the possibility of Proctor coming in as this giant, versatile chess piece on the other, that starts to feel less like patchwork and more like an actual blueprint. It's not glamorous, it's structural steel. And teams that climb back into the AFC fight usually start right there, with the dirty work that nobody celebrates on draft night, but everybody notices when the offense finally starts humming. There's another detail here that stands out to me. The mock points to the Patriots being especially high on Proctor. Again, that lives inside a projection, so treat it like informed reading, not gospel. But when a mock doesn't just connect a player to a team and actually suggests urgency to go get that specific player, the conversation changes. Then it stops sounding like, let's see who falls, and starts sounding like, this is our guy. And when a team attacks the draft like that, it usually means it sees fit, ceiling, and role very clearly. Proctor, listed at 6'7" and 366 pounds in that projection, would bring instant physical impact. But the real value might be the idea of a multi-answer player. If he can line up outside or kick inside, New England gains flexibility to adjust protection, survive injuries, and shape the line without being trapped in one setup. In the backstage world of roster building, that's gold. Because the real question isn't just who's talented, it's who solves more than one problem at once. And if this read is right, the Patriots wouldn't just be drafting a player, they'd be choosing a direction. Now the temperature rises, but this is exactly where we have to keep our feet on the ground so we don't turn smoke into a signed contract. The name on the table is George Pickens. The setup goes like this. There's still plenty of talk around A.J. Brown, but now there's also growing chatter that Pickens could become another option if his situation with Dallas really starts to crack. This is not a trade that's close. It's not a report that a deal is being negotiated. It's a possibility born from market signals, from reports that long-term talks haven't gone as smoothly as hoped, and from the Cowboys meeting with wide receivers before the draft, which naturally raises eyebrows about how secure they really feel about keeping Pickens long-term. And this is where it gets very real for us, as fans and as people trying to read the room the right way. If Dallas is actually preparing for multiple outcomes, the Patriots cannot sit on the sidelines and act like this is somebody else's problem. Because Pickens wouldn't be just another wide receiver. He would change the texture of the offense. He's explosive, he's young, he can tilt coverages, threaten deep, and put secondaries on high alert. And let's be honest, that is exactly the kind of presence that can change the way Drake Maye sees the field. But this is where the story gets juicy, because the decision would not be simple. If Dallas really considers moving Pickens, the price tag is not going to be cute. The read here is that the Cowboys likely wouldn't take less than serious draft capital, maybe something in the first-round neighborhood. And that's where Patriots Nation splits down the middle. One side says, finally, go get the guy and pay what it costs. The other side says, pump the brakes, this roster still has too many holes to burn that kind of asset. And the truth is, both reactions make sense. That's what gives this story its spark. From the aggressive side, the argument is strong. If there were rumors that New England might be willing to move a premium pick for someone like A.J. Brown, then why wouldn't it at least consider doing the same for Pickens, who is younger and brings ridiculous explosiveness? If you believe Maye needs real help, the kind of help that changes how defenses behave and not just how the stat sheet looks, this kind of move starts feeling less like luxury and more like a launch button. It wouldn't be a panic trade. It would be a ceiling-raising move. From the cautious side, there's a fair question too. Would the Patriots be buying pure talent or buying potential noise along with it? Because any trade this big requires more than an athletic evaluation. It requires reading fit, culture, long-term cost, and role inside a roster that's still being shaped. That's where Mike Vrabel and Elliott Wolf become the center of gravity. If they see Pickens as a player who would thrive inside the structure they're building, then the swing makes sense. If they believe the risk outweighs the impact, they pivot and keep moving. What I'm not buying is the idea that New England should act like a passive observer here. If that door is cracked open even a little, the Patriots should knock. Because teams trying to crawl out of the middle of the pack can't pretend young star receivers hit the market every week. The question isn't whether Pickens is available right now. The real question is whether the Patriots are ready to strike if that availability stops being rumor and starts becoming opportunity. The third story feels smaller on the surface, but these are the kinds of updates that say a lot when you follow roster building with a microscope. The Patriots are entering the final stretch of prep for the 2026 draft, and with the deadline for prospect visits closing in on April 15th, more names are starting to surface in connection with the team. The biggest name in this latest group is running back Kadyn Proctor from Indiana, a recent national champion and a more physical, experienced early down type of runner. He's not the kind of prospect dominating the national conversation, but he is exactly the kind of visit that reveals how a team is studying depth, role, and value. Along with him, the Patriots have also been connected to wide receiver Cyrus Allen, edge rusher George Gums Jr., and cornerback Kadyn Proctor. None of them currently project as early picks. The safest read is day 3 territory. And that matters because the backstage message here isn't screaming star power, it's whispering tactical priorities. New England is now up to 17 reported visits, and when you see a running back, a receiver, a pass rusher, and a corner showing up in this range of the board, the message starts to look pretty clear. The Patriots aren't just studying the top of the draft, they're trying to build the invisible layer of the roster, the one that supports special teams, rotation, and development. Black stands out for production and maturity. Allen brings slot value and strong numbers from his most recent season. Gums Jr. flashes pass rush tools, but his medicals matter after knee surgery. Proctor brings a long path and a lot of game experience. On their own, these are quiet names. Together, they show a front office trying to leave less to chance once the draft hits that stretch where smart teams steal value. And the fourth story is exactly the kind of one a lot of people brush past, even though inside the building, it could matter a whole lot. The Patriots still have the obvious debates around offensive tackle, edge, and pass catchers, but there's one quieter hole on this roster that also needs an answer: the return game. After Antonio Gibson's departure, Marcus Jones feels like the natural option, but everybody understands the problem there. You do not want a valuable piece of your secondary taking unnecessary hits on special teams every week. That's where Lan Larison re-enters the picture. Larison missed his entire rookie season in 2025 because of injury, but before that he made a strong impression in training camp. Now, with his recovery moving forward, he said on the Aggie Pride podcast that he's aiming to be fully healthy, dive headfirst into whatever role the team needs, and be ready for punt return, kick return, and kickoff duties if called upon. That does not confirm he'll be the primary returner. What it does confirm is something important. He's volunteering for a role this roster may genuinely need filled. And this is where the backstage read fits Mike Vrabel almost perfectly. Coaches like that love players who embrace a job, understand detail, and solve more than one problem without getting hung up on labels. If Larison picks up where he left off before the injury, he could compete not only for the RB3 spot behind Travion Henderson and Ramondre Stevenson, but also for a useful role on the third unit. And that shifts a lot, because a reliable returner does not just show up in the stat line. He changes field position, reduces improvisation, protects starters, and gives stability to a unit that can quietly swing tight games. So let me ask you this. If Larison is truly healthy, would you trust him as the in-house answer on special teams, or would you still want the Patriots looking elsewhere for help? If I have to plant a flag after these 4 stories, it's this. The Patriots are showing signs of a rebuild that is more intentional, more physical, and a lot less improvised than many people want to admit. It might be a mock draft, it might be rumor, it might be prospect visits, and it might be a role battle on special teams, but when you put it all together, a pattern starts to emerge. New England looks like a team trying to protect its quarterback better, raise the ceiling of the offense without abandoning structure, and build a tougher roster from the inside out. To me, that is the real backstage read. This is not the time to sell fantasy. It's the time to recognize direction. And when a franchise gets its direction back, it starts becoming a problem again. If you see that same bigger picture behind today's stories, subscribe and drop a comment telling me which of these moves could change the Patriots season the most.